Hey guys, welcome back to the World Series of Sealed. My name's Frodan. I'm joined by ShamonaHe, our resident expert here at the Esports Arena for Hearthstone.
That's what they call me.
Yeah, that's what they call him. They don't really call me an expert of anything these days. I guess I'm master of Twitch chat.
That's acceptable. That's a pretty good talent.
If you anger me, ShamonaHe, I will unleash Twitch chat upon you.
They kind of already unleashed on me, so
Call the hounds! So thanks to everyone who's tuned in so far. We've been having a lot of fun here with the Seal. We've been seeing some players just kind of taking the normal strategy, but this is where we start seeing if people can deviate a little bit. So second go around, we have players, they have the first round bets under their sleeve. Maybe they're more confident, maybe they're more conservative. This is where I think we start seeing a little bit of deviation from the standard.
Yeah, after not only building their decks, but seeing them played, and they can definitely tell how strong or how weak they feel with those decks. I mean, depending on draws, of course. But, you know, as we saw, like, especially, I keep bringing it back to Zalae's Mage deck. But Zalae's Mage deck is so strong that whenever he sees it, he's just going to max bet, as you said. And then maybe with weaker decks, maybe Trump doesn't feel as comfortable with his Warrior deck anymore, so maybe he'll try one of the other ones with a lower bet.
That's right. So we have Reynad going up against StrifeCro, two players who have won their first series. Let's go down to the show floor with our dealer Wade to see what they're thinking and feeling for their second match.
All right, welcome back, guys. Both of you victorious in round one, so sitting with 1,300 chips each. Since you do have the same amount, Reynad, on the blue side, you're going to start with the first bet. You're going to be playing on your Druid, and then StrifeCro, you said on your Hunter.
Sweet.
You want to go ahead and actually say the three decks that you brought again, just to remind everybody?
Yeah, I've got Druid, Mage, Warlock.
I have Mage, Hunter, Shaman.
What was it again?
Mage, Hunter, Shaman.
All right. And like I said, the Druid and the Hunter. So first action is on you, Reynad.
All right, let me an ante.
It's all right. Yeah, ante is actually 300 now for round two.
Oh, sick.
So raising the stakes a little bit.
Are these 25 each?
Yes. All right, so then now first action is on you.
What's max bet? Still 75?
Max bet is now 150, half of the ante.
Oh, shit. All right. Yeah, I'll max bet.
Reynad, it does bet 150, so StrifeCro, you have the option to call that, raise him, or fold if you wish.
All right, I'll call.
He calls, so we are going to have our first match here. You guys are good to get going on that. Good luck.
All right, so
My virgin ears have been violated.
yeah, we saw some pretty big bets there from Reynad, just right off the bat going max bet.
Yeah, I think he's starting to understand. Like, you know, first of all, he's kind of comparing the pot sizes. Like, I'm not an expert in a lot of these, you know, betting game theory stuff. But from the traditional sense, like, if you have the bigger stack, you can leverage that to play into like bullying your opponents. However, StrifeCro has the same exact pot size, and it's all relative. You know,
Right.
If you have 1,300, and your opponent has 1,300, you might as well have the same as 1,000, like back at net even. Versus if you had 1,300 versus 700. Then it'd be a much different case. You can really push him to say, look, if I'm betting 450 for this one, this is more than half of your remaining stack. Do you feel confident in it? So then at that stage, it's really interesting that Reynad met up with StrifeCro first, because then when we see Zalae play against someone else, he'll have a definitive advantage in stack, and maybe that plays into a factor of how they choose to accept, fold, or maybe even raise.
That's true. It's a pretty interesting strategy overall to think about, which is why a format like this is it's just so new, because you have a whole different mindset, not only on playing the games and building the right decks, but also how much to bet in every scenario and in which matchups.
So it looks like they did say their first classes, right? I believe Reynad said he was going to go on Druid. And then StrifeCro, he has the Mage, Hunter, Shaman. Did he say that he wanted to play his Hunter deck?
I believe he actually said he was going to be playing his Hunter deck, right?
Okay. And that makes sense because it feels like StrifeCro's Hunter deck has the most aggressive potential to just curve out very well. And I think he's starting to understand the importance of it. He played a Shaman versus Shaman against VLPS, and it felt a little underwhelming for both players.
Right.
They both drew a little awkward. Even though they did have the right curve, StrifeCro felt like he got a little bit luckier.
Yeah, I mean, we see a pretty decent curve here from StrifeCro right off the beginning. As you said, his decks were fairly low curved, so we can just kind of it's most hands he's going to get in the beginning are going to be 1, 2, and 3 drops, which is exactly what we see here. But Reynad also has a fairly decent early game with the double 2 drop, 3 drop, and Savage Baton as well to fill out the curve.
Yeah, sure. And, StrifeCro opting instead to develop the huge toe doesn't want anything with 1 health to be challenged by the Druid hero power. But that plays conveniently into Reynad's plans. He wasn't planning on hero powering anyways. Instead, chooses to remove aggressively.
Yeah, I like the charge there. Putting it in stealth pretty much just makes you take an additional 3 damage, so it's not really a point to it.
Yeah.
But the top deck of the Clockwork Gnome from StrifeCro is going to allow him to grab the synergy off the Mech Warper right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, Reynad was also playing around, like, possible Glaive Zuka to follow it up. There's a reason why you coin out on turn 2 if you don't have turn 1 plays.
Okay,
Well.
so, I mean, Desert Camel, always, right?
Does, and there's always a risk of your opponent getting a 1-drop in it. But, Reynad realizing that not only does he not have a 1-mana minion, but Reynad also saw that StrifeCro pulled the injured Cavaldir, which is the best case scenario. That is the dream.
That is the dream, and especially pulling it off in sealed. This overall beginning from StrifeCro is not easy to pull off in sealed. He pulled Mech Synergy and then an injured Caldir off of Desert Camel in the first 3 turns. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty difficult start, especially from a Druid standpoint to come back without any swipes or anything from hand.
Yeah, it's tough. However, it's not completely over yet. StrifeCro does have a lot of weak stuff, and I think one of the things that he has to always weigh is, if I'm leaving my board vulnerable to cards like Swipe, will I be in big trouble? Because again, there's a lot of range in what a deck could have in a format like Sealed. It's not as chaotic as Arena. Arena, like literally anything can be in it,
Right.
because you're just stuck sometimes with choices. But it's definitely not as powerful as Constructed, where it's like, well, maybe he doesn't have 2 of these cards, maybe he just has 1 of them.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're going there. StrifeCro had the option to either go with the Lance Carrier and trade up into the Savage Combatant, but he decides to go for the more board-centric play, use the kill command, and develop the Leopard Gnome and just smork him down. I wonder if Reynad's going to be able to survive long enough to let his big taunts take over. Because, I mean, the Iron Bar Protector is fairly strong in this matchup, especially if StrifeCro doesn't have, like, any Hunter Marks or anything like that. And I also did see Reynad did pull a Nixia, I believe.
Yeah, that's a pretty good card, though. Like, the fact is he can push out a lot of damage over a couple of turns. He did lose the Clockwork. No, never mind. I thought he had 2 mechs on board.
Oh,
that would have been
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
But the Metal Leaper here is like just the same as the Lance Carrier, I guess.
But even 1, it's still pretty strong. And you get the discount on it, too, which allows you to... I don't know, do you want to use the Brave Archer right off the bat?
Probably the Cloak Field.
Yeah, I like the Cloak Field.
6-3. And then just puts in a position where like Reynad has to address this. He does have taunts. However, the Anani's Rotable Club is nothing special here.
Oh, wow. An Innervate there to
Interesting.
be able to get out the Iron Bar Protector on turn 6.
But
Got some Druid plays.
It does get hit by the 6 damage Mech Warper, though. So no matter how he chooses to combat trade here, that thing is going to go down. But he needs to play it to stabilize.
So, even if Reynad kills the Metal Tooth as well as the 1-2, it's still going to leave StrifeCro with the ability to push 6 damage. So it's going to put Reynad down to 1 health.
Yep.
And he's going to need to pick up like a
heal.
heal bot.
Heal bot, anything to help gain additional armor. Druid has access to those
Oh,
cards.
that's true. We could see like bites and things like that as well.
But the Brave Archer being the last card, that was exactly how Ben Bro designed it.
Perfect. And looks like that is going to be it for game number 1.
yeah.
That was quite an opening from StrifeCro. There's not much Reynad could have done in that situation.
Just a little too much pressure. I think if Reynad was given, if that injured Cavaldir was not pulled out, or even vice versa, if Reynad pulled out another 1-drop to fight, there
might have
was
been able to
reasonable
stabilize.
chance for him to stabilize. The only question is, does he have enough time? Because what if StrifeCro gets some damage off the top, like a weapon of some sort? Then in that case, Reynad might not have enough turns. So he had 1 more turn to potentially survive another turn, but does he even have time to race the Hunter, which is the ultimate question, and why StrifeCro probably was really feeling that deck.
Yeah, there's definitely potential there for Reynad to be able to stabilize, so especially with the Innervate out the Iron Bar Protector.
Sure.
However, just the early aggression with the Mech Synergy as well as the Desert Camel is just a little bit too much for him to handle. But that deck seems really strong from StrifeCro. Just the overall like cards that he ended up getting seemed very high value.
Yeah, with you see this a lot of times in Arena where Hunter seems very linear with how you build the deck. It doesn't have a lot of flexibility for board control options, even though it does have access to cards like Power Shot,
Right.
Explosive Shot, even Multi-Shot, which is the 4-mana 3 damage random to targets.
minutes,
It still does have some really good board control tools, but ultimately its hero power pushes it towards the direction of being aggressive. So you're better off more times than not being very fast than kind of a slower approach, which ultimately means that Hunter is like an all-or-nothing deck in Arena. However, in Sealed, you get a pool of cards, meaning that if you don't want to play Hunter, you don't have to. Versus in Arena, you're like, well, I'm like a 10th into the draft, and I don't want to play this anymore, just retire.
Yeah, Hunter seems like one of the strongest decks in Sealed. As we can tell, most of the players actually end up drafting a Hunter deck simply because no matter what cards you get, really, most of the classic cards can just charge the face.
It's a 1-mana 2/1. It's good enough to play on turn 1.
Exactly. There we go. Let's charge it in.
Let's go to the floor boss downstairs and see what Wade is thinking, along with StrifeCro and Reynad, see what they want to do for Game 2.
StrifeCro. You are going to have that 1-0 lead and the first action going into game number 2. And I understand you're going to be playing on your Mage, and then Reynad, you switching to your Warlock. So you do have the first action to bet or check.
All right, I'm bet 150.
All right.
Call.
A snap call from Reynad. So we're going to have another 150 each into that pot, making the total pot 1,200 gold.
Huge pot.
Good luck in game number 2.
1,200. Oh my goodness.
It's a big one, yeah.
Let me do some quick napkin math, aka pull up this spreadsheet someone conveniently made for me. So they both start at 1,300. So at the end, if it's a 1,200 pot,
One player will have 2,500 and the other player will have 600. Or
well, I think
700.
you subtract how much they also bet into it. So I believe one would have 1,900. And
yeah,
one
you're
would be
right.
back at 700,
700.
so almost like on the same level.
I
of,
nailed that math. I
some
nailed
of the
it.
players. But that would be insane if you could just jump up that much.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and of course, there is an additional option, a possibility that Reynad wins this match because everything's been 2-0. If Reynad wins this, then we go to a third betting round where they have to ante one more time, and then that could just put a nail in the coffin for one of these players if one of them just loses it.
Well, they
and
could
then go
both
down
just check
400.
for game 3 too.
They could.
They could be too afraid to actually put any more cash into the pool because there's
They could
already a
be.
lot in there.
You're right.
So they could just go with a double respect check.
But where's the fun in that?
There's no fun in
In
that.
fact,
all
if
in.
both of them do, they both get disqualified if they give their money to Trump.
I'm-
That's a written rule somewhere. I think I read that before.
I'd love to see Trump try to drag in some more people. So I have no complaints on my end.
It's a small loan of 1,000 Hearthstone gold. Just to get him started.
So we got game number 2 here going on. Reynad ended up switching over to his Warlock, as we heard, and StrifeCro is going to be going with his Mage. And we see right off the bat the Archmage in hand.
Yeah, Archmage is a little slow, but the one thing that is nice is that StrifeCro does have some things to play from 2 onwards. When we were analyzing this deck, we were saying StrifeCro has a very wide amount of 2-mana minions and things to play on turn 2, which is what you want to be doing. If you get caught without early plays, you often just get stuck in a position where you're just fighting catch-up, and because you don't have access to a lot of convenient AoE cards, usually, it's a really difficult position.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. We haven't seen Reynad's list yet, the full thing, but it looks pretty interesting taking a look at it right now. It seems like a kind of a zoo-ish mech kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say it's just more of a mid-range Warlock
Okay.
deck. Reynad has some value cards. In fact, you look at Dreadsteed, it's a golden Dreadsteed, first of all. So pay to win confirmed. The second thing is you can see that he has cards like Voidcaller in the deck, so it helps pull out some of these normally clunky cards. And last time we saw the Warlock deck, he got the Floating Watcher, which just kept powering up, and it got to like a 10 damage minion. So it was insane.
Interesting, yeah. This is the first time I'm seeing it, and it looks pretty strong. Just the overall card value, again, seems relatively good. And that Fell Cannon turn was pretty sick. So
It's pretty funny because Fell Cannon is not a card that you traditionally see a lot of value off of. But in some cases, it acts kind of like having a mini ability to grab tempo like a Fire Elemental or similar to a Blackwing Corruptor. Sniping that Flamewaker was huge because StrifeCro has 4 out of 5 spells.
yeah, so Reynad had a couple of options he could have done there. I'm surprised we see 2 Implosions in Reynad's deck. This is very surprising to me.
Look at the synergy. Look at sick.
It's beautiful.
Dreadsteed just makes another Dreadsteed. Although I'm sure the horse protection activist group will have a word with him.
This is a relatively strong turn from StrifeCro here. We have the Kirin Tor Mage? I think that's what it's called, right? Kirin Tor Mage pulling out the Effigy and as well as killing off the Fell Cannon. So I think Reynad is going to probably use the Rusty Horn first to test for Counterspell, and then maybe go with an Implosion here.
There's that option. There's also the option of testing for a couple things. Like if you want to play Void Caller, you play Shield Bearer first because you have Doomguard in hand, and that's one of your best tempos available.
Yeah, the Void Caller into Doomguard is definitely going to be something that StrifeCro's going to be hoping doesn't happen, especially in a format like Sealed where you see a Void Walker or a Void Caller. It's probably best just to kill it as fast as you can and hope that there's no Doomguards or Mal'Ganises in their hand.
Hard to say, though, because last time, Firebat assumed the same thing. He's like, you know what? He played Void Caller on 4. What are the chances that he has a Demon now versus tapping into it later? He made the trade, got punished, and lost the game. And that's one of the really cool things about Void Caller, which ultimately makes me a little sad that the card is getting rotated into Wild, because I think one of those hidden informations is one of the coolest things about this deck.
So Reynad rolls the infamous 2-plosion here. Luckily for him, it didn't matter too much, but still kind of unfortunate because that board presence was something that he'd definitely be looking for in this scenario here.
It ends up being convenient stats, though. I mean, the Dreadsteed dying isn't that consequential, and 3 attack is the average around for a 3-mana card. Sometimes you have some 4/3s like the Kirin Tor and the Injured Blade Master.
I mean, for StrifeCro in this situation, do you just pop the Voidwalker and kind of see what comes out, maybe Frostbolt, whatever comes out? Or are you just kind of planning on slamming the Archmage and hoping your opponent can't deal with it?
I don't think you have a choice. It's very clear the Void Caller's dying next turn in some capacity, and he gets to pick up the trades. So the unfortunate thing is that you also ran out of mana to Frostbolt because you want to develop everything else.
Right. So this Doomguard coming out is going to be pretty detrimental to StrifeCro's overall plan. It looks like he is going to end up saving that Archmage for turn 9 to go with Archmage Frostbolt. And hopefully he's going to be able to survive long enough for that, but I feel like Reynad's hand is relatively aggressive and he's going to be able to take board presence probably this turn, especially with Mukla in hand.
Well, what does Mukla allow him to do? The interesting thing is Mukla doesn't actually
buff much.
It does. It's +3/+3.
Oh, yeah, but the buffs don't help trade.
Yeah, it's like the trades that he probably would have been able to do anyways, like Doomguard killing the Spectral Knight anyways, right?
It allows him to like double trade into the 3/3 if necessary with his 2 1/1s instead.
Yeah, that's true.
But it kind of raised the question, is just Implosion Peddler better here?
It's also 7 mana, assuming you can play the Peddler.
Yeah, so you can play whatever comes off the Peddler too, potentially.
He didn't... Like, if he had AoE, would he have played it last turn? There was 2 1/1 imps and a Void Caller. I don't know.
Probably
It's a tough call. Like, if you want to save the second Implosion for a potential AoE, you could.
That's true. It is a pretty all-in play going with it. Him making that trade makes me feel like he's going with the Implosion right off the bat.
Well, if you play Mukla's Champion, you get the buff Dreadsteed retroactively.
Interesting.
It's a very nice. It's a very cool sequencing thing that just gives him a slight edge on board.
Yeah, it allows him to get that extra 1/1 buff there. It probably won't matter too much because assuming well, I guess, I mean, if he wastes the attack going into it, that's pretty good for Reynad as well.
Okay, so high priority targets all over the place. Doomguard definitely wants to go down.
We'll probably see double Frostbolt Shade here, I would assume. Because you have to kill the Mukla's Champion. I guess you could just hit ping it, right? So maybe hit ping Frostbolt Shade. Save the second Frostbolt for Archmage next turn.
Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. If you Frostbolt the Doomguard, the onus isn't on you to kill it this turn. You could freeze it for the tempo, kill the Mukla's Champion,
and develop
develop the Shade next Rammus, which seems to be the most reasonable thing. However, you have to accept the fact that next turn you're not going to be hero powering with Antonidas. You're going to be Frostbolting again. So that might
sway him to...
That might sway him to keep it instead and not use it, but
maybe
I'm in favor of using
maybe he's... Oh, no, I guess he has to. He can't actually ping the Doomguard because he has to kill the Muklas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of in an awkward situation here. I think he kind of is saving the 6 health. Actually saving your Snapjaw worth the Frostbolt probably is. Yeah,
it's an interesting proposition because you never know if there's a way for him to heal the Doomguard too.
Right.
But this is the best way to seize tempo. Another card that gets buffed with the Warlock hero power. That is the Floating Watcher.
You know, the Saboteur here, as Reynad's thinking about it, is actually pretty strong because it stops StrifeCro from pinging and developing. So if he wants to use his hero power on the Doomguard, which Reynad probably assumes is his plan, it shuts down his entire turn. So I would not be surprised at all to see Reynad drop the Saboteur this turn. I'm not sure exactly what else he's going to go with, but the Saboteur seems like at least going to fit in there somewhere.
That's an interesting point. You know, I didn't really consider that. Saboteur does have a spot here. Dark Peddler, Saboteur, and Ship Cannon develops a pretty reasonable board, giving you flexibility to have that 1 mana card. Reynad taps instead, wants to see if he has additional options.
He might just go with the Scarlet Crusader over the Peddler here then. Still seems pretty strong, and it helps against AoE. And again, without the ping, the Scarlet Crusader is even stronger, so seems pretty strong.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's stronger against Flame Strike as well. Of course, the Dreadsteed makes you permanently immune to Flame Strike clearing your board, unless your opponent has a Silence or a Polymorph card.
So it looks like the turn is Archmage, Frostbolt this Saboteur, and trade into the 6/1. Is that kind of the route that it looks like we're taking? We could also
Hard to say.
we could unveil the Shade as well and like kill off the 2/2, but that seems pretty weak.
Yeah, considering that the Dreadsteed would trade right back into the Shade.
And I feel like not developing the Archmage this turn is probably a losing play. I feel like you're in one of those positions of StrifeCro where it's kind of now or never. I don't know what you're waiting for, especially since you don't really have any other powerful plays. So I think he's kind of forced into dropping this Archmage.
There's a lot of upsides to the play.
Oh yeah, because if your opponent doesn't have the 2 damage, then you kind of just win the game.
Oh yeah.
This Archmage sticking around is insane, but we see the Implosion and the Soulfire in hand, so.
Right. Soulfire, I think you can save the Soulfire. You can Implosion and then play the Floating Watch. I guess you probably play Peddler, because Floating Watch you most likely want to tap with it first.
Oh my gosh.
Yikes.
So we saw the first Implosion was 2, second one was 4, so we'll call it even. Looks like Reynad wanted to see what the Implosion hit for before he decided to tap. He didn't know if he was going to have to use the Soulfire or not this turn, so.
Wow, he's using the Hogger card back.
What a thug.
Or is that the Hogger one? I think that is.
I don't know.
Reliquary Seeker means it's a full board. So it's a 5/5. I don't know what you would reconsider otherwise. So do I want a 5/5? Do I want a spare part with 2/1, or do I want
the young-blooded Yoli Squire?
The young lowly Squire.
Yeah, the Reliquary Seeker here is definitely the way to go. Oh wait, he
didn't
can't
have.
play.
Oh, because he played the Peddler. I
Peddler, yeah,
apologize.
the
I remember he
Peddler
implosioned
doesn't show
before.
up on
Yeah.
the stream, All right. And I know we're in the middle of the game here, guys, but we just want to give a special thanks to our friends over at Lyft. They are offering us $50 off your first ride with Lyft using code Esports. So either head over to Lyft on your phones or just click the banner below and check it out.
Nice.
So shout out to them. And also, it's free to spectate, so go ahead and use that Lyft code. Lyft on over here to Esports Arena and hang out with some of the players. And Frodan. I'll be here too.
I'm not a
but,
player.
it's fine.
I'm just the eye candy. It's okay. I know my players. So, you know, looking at how StrifeCro has to fight back on board, even though he's looking at a pretty large amount of minions on the board, the truth is it's not very overwhelming. However, it's going to get crazy real fast. As soon as Reynad starts making these trades, plays a 5/5 and a 6/6, get out of here. You can also develop more, too, while drawing cards. This is like Warlock at its best.
Yeah, Warlock's always been strong in different styled formats simply because their hero power allows, even if it's a weaker deck, allows them to trade even if it's 1 for 2. They just have so many more cards. They can really just keep funneling in the pressure.
Yeah, precisely.
And especially with as good as Reynad's list is with all of the power cards that he actually ends up having, like these Floating Watchers, all the Demon Synergy, like the Peddler's Double Implosion, it's pretty difficult for StrifeCro to be able to keep up with this.
Yeah, Reynad's, again, like, weighing his trades, wondering if he wants to develop Haunted Creeper, if he wants a Mortal Coil instead. A lot of choices, and I think he's just thinking about it on the fly. You know, I think the mana-efficient play is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree. In this kind of scenario, Reynad's kind of one of those autopilots where you just kind of play and proceed to the face.
What?
Oh, man.
That was one of the best cards you could have drawn.
Is that board clear? It is. Oh, wait, no. He can't.
I mean, technically nothing will ever board clear because of Dreadsteed.
You got me there.
So it's one of those situations, but is it effectively like helping him bounce back on the board if he uses Flame Strike and Forgotten Torch? It looks like it's a little bit under.
Yeah, he can. If he chooses to unveil the Shade, he can kill everything except for a 5/1 and the Dreadsteed. So that's kind of awkward because then his Shade dies to a 5/1, which is not ideal.
Right.
If he just Flame Strike Forgotten Torches and doesn't use his Shade to kill off the Creeper, Reynad does get an additional 2 1-1s, but at least he can ping the 5-1 and then use his Shade in the following turn. So I think I would probably prefer that line of play, but StrifeCro also has the option to just do his best to survive and then use his burn cards like the Fireball and the Forgotten Torch to kind of end the game with the Shade Naxxramas. Because he is fairly close, like with the 9 damage, if you count ping, 10 damage in hand plus the 15. He's only 7 damage off, so he's almost there.
Yeah, I like killing the... oh, interesting. He wants to ping this down and then Forgotten Torch next turn. Okay.
Yeah, so it looks like he really wants to save those burn spells. Maybe he has Flame Wakers. I'm not exactly sure if he's used any of them that he did end up putting into his deck or not, but that Sorcerer's Apprentice, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like spell synergy that he could be saving it for, other than just shooting it at Reynad's face.
Yeah, Flame Waker, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mana Worms. There's also the idea of like using his hero power efficiently,
right?
And being able to hero power twice over 2 turns instead of just 1 time, because his card count's a little bit low, so he's feeling like Warlock can just keep life tapping. I'm gonna leverage my health right now. I don't mind taking 8 damage from this floating launcher, which is going to happen.
Yeah, Reynad tapping is actually one of the best things for StrifeCro.
Oh
because
man,
you saw the Mookless champion.
Yeah, it's like if he got that at the beginning of the turn,
that'd have been insane. That'd have been so much damage.
Dreadsteed gets to live vicariously again as a 2/2.
So we have 11 damage from Reynad plus a Soulfire from hand. That's 15 total. So he looks like he's missing 9 damage off. So this game is definitely going to be coming to a close in the next turn or two.
Yeah, Dread Infernal does actually buff the Floating Watcher because it does damage to yourself as well. Fun fact.
Oh, looks like that's what he's going with.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. Oh, nope. He changed his mind.
Yeah, he just decided to hold. It's fine. He doesn't want to overextend. Like,
yeah,
you know, in the end,
Flame Strike.
these 1/1 tokens, they are 2 extra damage on board as well. So it's you can develop the 6/6. He might even keep it as burst surprise damage.
Yeah, I like holding the Dread Infernal. Like, there's really no point to playing it. You don't need to commit all of your aces into the board there because really you're in a dominant position, so you might as well just hold for now. And it's kind of forcing StrifeCro to use his only win condition, which is burning out the face on his minions to make it so he can live a couple extra turns.
Sure, makes sense.
I wonder when the Shade's going to come out. You think it's coming out here?
Well, if it goes to 7 health, it's at risk of, you know, big game hunter, which is not out of the question. It probably wouldn't go in a Warlock deck that has access to a lot of other stuff to remove.
Right.
Siphon Soul being one of them, for example. However, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to be mindful of the longer you wait. It also means the less impact it has. Like, if he attacks with the Shade now, he might even have lethal next turn. Depends on how Reynad reacts to the board, right?
Because if he ends up hitting face here, it's going to put Reynad at 14, which makes it so Reynad doesn't want to tap anymore because he would end up dying to double Fireball, which he knows he has one of. So it kind of puts him in a position where he doesn't actually end up wanting to draw any more cards, which makes Mookless Champion a little bit weaker, especially with Mookless Champion being so strong this turn. But never mind, Reynad's just going to go for it.
You got to go for it. He's got 1 Fireball. It's unlikely he taps into a second one. Plus bananas.
Oh, is this lethal? We didn't even count. Oh, it is.
It is. You're right, because it adds up enough damage. So looks like it's going to wrap up Game 2 here, and Reynad ties up the series against StrifeCro, sending it to Game 3. So that means we get, for the first time, an opportunity to see who has the bigger balls to go into Game 3. Who's going to be the one max betting? If they are max betting, is someone going to re-raise and try to push the stakes even higher?
Yeah, since we did see Reynad win the game, that means Reynad does get the first action. So I'm assuming we're just going to see Reynad max bet and another call from StrifeCro. It's kind of been the option that both sides have been going, but we'll have to see really what ends up happening. This is interesting. We haven't seen a third game yet, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I think so. Hold on, let me rewind real quick. So we have 1,200 in the pot. So they can both, again, max bet for 150, but then one person can raise it 150 more. So the hypothetical big pot would be 1,800.
Yeah.
Which means that one of the players would be at 400 after this. And then the other person would be at 3,100, almost guaranteed to... No, they're definitely guaranteed to go to elimination round.
Yeah, so if they end up double betting, actually, it's going to put them into the point where the player with 400 has to go all in immediately at the beginning of the next round because the ante for next round is 450 gold.
Oh, okay.
So they would immediately...
Okay, so they're elimination point.
Yeah, so they would just go straight into an elimination game, and if they end up losing, then they're out.
Okay, so if you want to press your advantage and potentially push someone out the next round, whoever they face, you would double bet.
Exactly.
Assuming
so.
that is the case. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see. Because right now, we're about to go back to the floor boss with Wade, our dealer, to see what Reynad and StrifeCro is going to bet for game number 3.
We do have our first game 3 of the day. Reynad taking that second game. And I do know that you are going back to your Druid here for game number 3. StrifeCro deciding to stay on your Mage. So we're going to have that. Because you won game number 2, you have the first action here, Reynad.
All right, check.
I'm betting 150.
A bet by
What's
150
this?
from Strife.
That's 100.
And a call from Reynad. All right, good luck in game number 3.
All right, so once again, just a bet and a call. I can see it. You know, there's a little bit of bravery. Like, StrifeCro could have easily just said check. But StrifeCro wants a little bit more. You know?
Yeah, it definitely shows that StrifeCro feels very, very confident with that mage deck of his, and maybe Reynad doesn't feel as confident as StrifeCro does based on his initial check.
But I'm a little disappointed. You know, I always felt like Reynad was talking about putting pants on and going, uprooted. But in this case, it just felt like he wasn't that confident. He had the perfect opportunity to pass when he passed action over. StrifeCro could have bet and said, "I'm going to double bet because if I win, then StrifeCro is potentially going to be knocked out the next round."
That's true.
Because it all comes down to this last game 3 in this best of 3 series.
Yeah, this game 3 is going to be pretty intense because winner's going to take or have a huge chunk of change, and even the next round we're going to see, which is going to be a someone in the winners bracket, or not winners bracket, but someone with 1,300 against someone with 700, which is I think Zalae versus Firebat.
We'll have Firebat versus Trump coming up
Firebat
next,
versus Trump,
and then Zalae versus VLPS.
Okay.
So VLPS will be the position of he'll be in a really defensive position.
Yeah, because the players
Zalae
at
has no
700
way.
have the potential of getting below that 400 gold checkpoint so easily, so 450, and immediately having to go all in next round. So round 3, I'd assume we're going to see at least a couple of eliminations, but at least for round 3, they're going to be able to redraft.
Okay.
So if they don't feel confident with their decks, like they lost their first 2 rounds, they will be able to redraft and hopefully come back swinging.
Yep. Hopefully. So for game 3, it's going to be Druid up against the Mage again. StrifeCro's not eligible to play Hunter. Reynad's not eligible to play Warlock. It feels like Reynad's just avoiding playing his Mage deck. It seems like he just has more confidence in Druid and Warlock, and he'll ride those out in the best of 3. And then he doesn't even have to play Mage because it is best of 3. And if he gets to the final stages, he gets to redraft.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of the players really focused on 2 of their decks and heavily stacking those decks with the best cards they could, with all those best commons like Sludge Belchers, the Pilot Strutters, all those really, really important cards that you see in all the decks. They just stacked those in the 2 decks and just kind of auto-filled deck 3.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in the best of 3 format, they don't really have to play that 3rd deck. They could, like, build it to beat a certain type of deck, but it looks like they opted for more of just the 2-deck stacking strategy. There's the
Mage
Archmage.
versus Druid. Archmage, Antonius not being enough for StrifeCro to get pushed over the edge, but he made it a little bit closer. It is one of those bomb cards that we refer to as being one of the higher priorities of being able to just outright win the game if it goes unchecked.
Yeah, and Arcane Explosion is kind of an interesting card to throw in there. It's probably not going to be too much of a help against a Druid deck. That would have been really nice to pick up last game when there was like imps all over the place, but
yeah.
Still, I mean, it's not too bad. Relatively cheap spell. Do you like coining out the Snowjugger here? I think I like kind of holding.
Yeah, the thing is, if you play a Snowjugger on turn 2, you're stuck. You're committed to
Committing
playing
to Frostbolt.
Frostbolt or an Arcane Explosion, both of which you don't feel that confident. Plus, the coin gives you more flexibility to play as the turns develop.
Yeah, so StrifeCro's hand looks fairly flexible. He has 2 separate 3-drops he can play. He can play the Kirin Mage if he ends up picking up. I believe we saw Effigy in his list. I'm not sure if we haven't saw any other secrets yet, but I know he has at least 1.
Yeah, I believe he has an Effigy and a Duplicate.
A Duplicate? Okay.
Yeah, so those cards will help him. Well, one will help him maintain board presence. The other will give him some card advantage. And they do different things, which makes it even scarier. Sometimes when, like Hunter, for example, if they have Explosive Trap and Bear Trap, well, it's basically attacking the face both times.
Right.
That is really scary. So you'll just trade on board a lot. Same thing with like Effigy and Duplicate. They're fundamentally different with how they approach it. One's board-centric, one's value-centric.
So Reynad seems a little afraid of leaving that Snowjugger up too long, so he's going to spend his turn 3 simply here powering it and freezing his entire board. And this kind of allows StrifeCro to not have to ping this turn. And he's just probably going to develop the 3-drop, and then next turn either Kirin coin ping or maybe just develop the Taz Dingo.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why cards like Snow Chugger are so powerful. Water Elemental comes to mind as another one.
Right.
If it's able to freeze, it gains a lot of tempo. However, Reynad wouldn't have done anything except tack 2 damage to the face. So it felt like relatively innocuous for Reynad's side, which is why I think he was okay doing this.
Are we about to see an Arcane Explosion here?
Or
do you think just the ping trade?
I don't think you need to Arcane Explosion, because then you just save 2 health onto your Spider Tank. But it is worth evaluating for sure. I think you can get more value off the hero
Just
power.
using the hero power, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I guess I'm always looking for that Arcane Explosion value, because I feel like in this matchup, it's really just kind of going to sit in his hand for a really long time.
Well, AoE is kind of a premium luxury. You don't get a lot
That's
of
true.
chances to have guaranteed area of effect cards. And Arcane Explosion might be a situation where like you can Blizzard first and then Arcane Explosion to finish off.
Yeah. That's true. That's almost a Flame Strike.
Kind of, yeah.
Getting your way towards your homemade Flame Strike, but Reynad's hand's looking kind of terrifying.
As the game goes on, yeah.
Yeah, StrifeCro keeps picking up kind of like his low curve cards, not really too much effect on board, but Reynad's hand is just, he's getting to the point where he's just going to start dropping threat after threat after threat.
Well, still not yet, because Argent Commander gets halted by
The Taz Dingo.
Taz Dingo, the Shield Master, which is probably a good representation of why Argent Commander was rotated out in the first place, because cards like Sludge Belcher really push it out. It was a 5-mana card that would fight like even more efficiently, and it stopped the pressure. Before, like, the only thing that you had to contend with Argent Commander was like Azure Drake and maybe a Druid the Claw. You still at least trade 1 for 1. But in that case, the Sludge Belcher left behind a 1/2 slime, and it was like one of those really awkward situations.
Right, so I mean, I like Starfall here by Reynad. He can just drop the Starfall, take out the Taz Dingo, and then it gives him the option next turn with either a Argent Commander, maybe even a Savage Combatant Hero Power, take out the Zombie Chow. Kind of gives him a couple options. We know that StrifeCro's hand's fairly weak. So if Reynad actually spends his whole turn just clearing with the Starfall, or not clearing, but killing off the Shield Master, StrifeCro really doesn't have much to do.
Yeah, he would really have loved to get Duplicate behind the Ascension Shield Master. Instead, he's now picking up, but Blizzard is not too bad. But he's in a position where he's got a bunch of cards that work very independent of each other. Blizzard is not doing the same thing as Duplicate does, because it stalls the board,
Right.
These are really interesting synergies or lack thereof.
So I know Reynad has seen at least the Effigy. So I wonder if he's just going to drop the Combatant and Hero Power down the Zombie Chow here. 'Cause that's kind of tempting.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the right play. In both the cases of Effigy and as well as
Duplicate.
However, he's killing the Berserker. Okay, this makes sense too, because he doesn't want the Berserker to just get pinged by the hero power.
Oh, and trade into his Combatant, right. He
So-
wants him to have to force to trade the Kirin Torin. All right, well, I mean, 2 Amani Berserkers isn't half bad as Priest. As Mage, you can ping them and then end up getting a 5/2 for 2. So some Ice Rager things going on.
It is pretty reasonable. And StrifeCro's going to try to leverage this for tempo, but it's almost like it just feels sort of all in. Like, StrifeCro needs this to work.
Oh my gosh, synergy. We have Lightbane and Mark of the Wild.
Yeah, we saw that earlier with Reynad just blowing out Firebat when
Right.
his opponent played Chillwind Yeti. What? That's an insane card right now.
North Sea Kraken is definitely the way to go. Coining that out, trading in the Kirin Tor Mage, it's going to give him a dominant board position, and it's going to make it really difficult for Reynad to really do anything. He can just play another Iron Bark, but that's really not very strong.
Woo. Well,
Saving the coin.
that was probably the best draw he could have asked for, and Reynad's in a really awkward spot now. He still can play stuff. Iron Bar Protect number 2, for example, is a little bit awkward for trades. Like, StrifeCro only has 7 convenient damage to ping it off from what he sees.
The Arcane Explosion is coming.
Arcane Explosion could be the case. But, it's as simple as StrifeCro having a Fireball or a Polymorph, and he could just be potentially dead.
I imagine we're going to see Iron Bark here. None of his other plays really make too much sense. He's a little bit short on mana next turn. Maybe go with like a swipe Argent Commander turn, try to take back the board. But
Oh, man. That's interesting.
he can't ping an Arcane Explosion, unfortunately.
Yeah, but why not just? Would you feel comfortable just developing the Archmage Antonitis?
I mean, against a Druid, it's going to be really hard for them to remove because they don't have any like hard direct removal for your Archmage, so they're going to have to deal with it the hard way. I mean, dropping Archmage against Druid's almost always smart because the main way they deal with it is combo. And in Seal, the likelihood of your opponent having Force of Nature is pretty low because Force of Nature is an epic. So we see Savage Roar. Maybe have you seen his Force of Nature from Reynad yet?
We have not.
So that's kind of unfortunate. I'm not sure. This Archmage is pretty good.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if StrifeCro chooses a very slow play. He can definitely press his advantage here. Even if he develops a second Amani Berserker and plays Arcane Explosion, he still has the ability to pressure with the Kraken.
Yeah. I wonder if he's even going to play Arcane Explosion. Maybe he'll just ping his Amani and go phase.
You can just play the second Amani as well.
Yeah, that's true. He had a lot of options there, but he wants to get that Arcane Explosion value, turn it straight into a Fireball.
Playing around like Mind Control Tech possibilities.
Oh yeah, Mind Control Tech or even a Silence. He just needs that Fireball to finish off the game.
So he's got double Mark of the Wild. He also had, it's interesting that he has a lot of ways to remove it, but this is probably his best chance.
I believe. Oh, because it gives him Taunt too, so he's not dead on board. Okay, so that's going to put a pretty good Fireball target on board.
Yeah, it's a 3-for-1. That was paid for. Well, I guess instead of Arcane Explosion, you had a Fireball. Yeah, so you did have to cash it in.
And unfortunately, he's going to lose his Light Bane value as well. He's not going to be able to get any more value off that, so... StrifeCro is going to be able to push a decent amount of damage into Amani Berserker. We are probably going to see Swipe here, but Swipe's... like Swipe Savage Roar, maybe?
Right. I think that might be his only way to survive. Oh, that's a good card, though.
So how does he do it? He can't kill the Zombie Child this turn, is that right?
Yeah, he'll just Argent Commander into something and swipe the other Amani Berserker.
So this is going to put StrifeCro on a... I mean, Reynad could definitely come back from this position. It's going to put, especially the Zombie Child board, StrifeCro's really on a clock here to finish off Reynad before he manages to heal too much with that Zombie Child as well as just his basic hero power. So...
Well, if my calculations are correct, I believe StrifeCro has a 99% chance to draw a Frostbolt off the top of his deck.
Oh.
I think I've played this deck a few times.
Oh, well, that's just like it. King Crush, right? King Crush.
I would like a Nightblade.
You feeling Nightblade? Okay, I can understand that.
Oh, man.
That's actually really strong.
It could also be disastrous because it can summon a heal bot that would heal a random target.
Oh, you're right.
And it might heal Druid. It also might give him 3 cards.
Oh, the homing chicken. Is that what it's called? Homing chicken?
I think so.
I think so, too.
What that card does is it turns a random thing into a chicken?
No, at the beginning of your turn, it explodes and you draw 3 cards.
Oh, okay, so it is the draw 3 cards.
Yeah, that's the draw 3 cards one.
You've played that card a lot, man. I have no clue sometimes. Just to go off picture, I have to read it. Which one's the one that transforms into a chicken? The Poultryizer?
Poultryizer, yeah, you got it.
Okay.
See, you know what's going on.
I know a thing or two about card stone.
So Reynad luckily can just hero power off the homing chicken to stop the card draw, but he still has to deal with this 6/6 that's staring him down. And going 5-2 lion mode, I think it's called. Lion, tiger. I don't know. Fire, cat.
You would do great on Jeoparino, man. Much better than me. Either way, it's gonna get
Blizzard, yeah.
It's gonna get iced down by Blizzard, and then he can just push for tempo. Reynad once again needs a little bit of help off the top of his deck.
I mean, we saw both Ironbark Protectors. What else could save him here?
Another taunt if he has Sunwalkers.
Chillin'
Yeti's
not it. Ooh, that's gonna be it. StrifeCro is gonna take this series 2-1 and push Reynad into the gutters.
So 1,500 Buccarinos goes down. Well, actually, it's technically gold. So
that's right.
750 split. So StrifeCro is at 2,050,
right.
And then Reynad goes down to 550.
Okay, so Reynad still has an additional 100 after the next round for betting, and then StrifeCro is going to be on the top of the leaderboards for quite a while, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity for StrifeCro to cement his lead,
right.
And I think with this win, he's guaranteed to go to the eliminations round, which feels like good redemption. Last time StrifeCro played in the sealed format, he went 0-9, so it felt like this is a good opportunity to get some redemption because he's definitely much better than the results show.
Definitely. And I believe we're going to shoot it down to our dealer, Wade, and see what's going on.
on your 2-0 victory there.
2-1.
2-1. 2-0 in the tournament, and now have a sizable chip stack going into round number 3. I believe you had 2,050 in chips. Ran at a tough loss, losing a lot of chips there, down to 550, I believe. But you always have an option to come back. It seemed like you were trying to get away with minimal bets there. Not as confident in this matchup as maybe you were in round number 1.
Yeah, I mean, the mage deck was disgusting. I think the hunter was the only one I could realistically beat twice. But yeah, it drew all the mech synergy and all the beast synergy in the same draw, and emptied its hand by turn 5. Like, I can't win. Yeah.
All right, well, again, congratulations. I mean, you guys are going to be redrafting new decks now going into your next match, so you'll have an opportunity to maybe improve your chances going into round number 3, or continue strong in your case, StrifeCro. So congratulations again, and we'll see you guys shortly.
Or maybe we won't see Reynad at all. It depends on how the stacks end up playing out. It's a very interesting dynamic because Reynad all of a sudden was feeling good after his first win, but now after all of the cards have been played through, because it went 3 games, he's in a more difficult position. In some scenarios, this is why you'd rather lose 0-2 than 1-2, because the games you end up betting a little bit more and you lose a little more.
Yeah, which is
so
one of the
it's
reasons that
definitely
folding
painful.
exists, is because if you know you can't beat a certain deck because of how strong it is, you can really just fold and save that additional 150 that you're going to have to push in, which at the end of that, Reynad might have been going for that. But we're going to actually take a quick look at the leaderboard and kind of see where everyone stands.
So StrifeCro sits atop the totem pole, 2,050. Zalay at 1,300 stands as the only player who's won the games yet to play. But, of course, he'll be taking on VLPS. In the meantime, we have Trump versus Firebet. One of those players will grab their first important W, and one person will be pushed down to practically elimination, or maybe even more. Maybe they will be eliminated.
There's definitely a chance that players are eliminated this round if everyone just starts throwing money at each other or gold at each other. One player could definitely be eliminated, but I assume that next round will be the main elimination round where 1 or 2 players might drop out.
All right, so with that, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have the next match up for you. It's going to be Trump versus Zalay.